Well, Mark, welcome. I think it would be a great idea if we started talking about some of the issues around U.S. companies doing business in Europe. So we've heard all of these, myths and stories. What do you feel are the perceived barriers versus the real barriers?
I do think that the myths and the stories, they go both ways. Going to the US, going to Europe, a lot of stories around. What is true is that 75% of the companies that go internationally, that go to Europe, are not successful, and only 25% is successful. And I think today we should focus on how to become part of that 25% that is successful. Because going to Europe is extremely rewarding for US companies. It's not only rewarding by getting sales in, but it is proven that exporting companies in the US are more successful also on their internal market.
What are the bad decisions that get made that lead to that 75% failure rate?
One of the major issues that people go opportunistic into the European market. They grab that chance, and if you want to become part of the 25%, you have to first think on how are you going to Europe? What is really your objective of the long term? And when you have that in your mind, then make your decisions about your market entry strategy. How do you go to Europe? With who are you going to work? What is your marketing strategy? How are you going to price your product? What kind of product do you take to Europe? And by just creating that moment of, okay, who do I want to be in 5 years? And then decide on how to go to Europe, I think with that action you already take out a lot of risk.
How big is the consumer base in the European market?
Right now, if you look at Europe as an economical zone, it's 800 million people. So maybe the European economy is rather flat, but every year we are adding more consuming people to the European market. And we talk about countries like Poland, like Turkey, like Russia. So Europe is quite attractive because your investment will automatically grow with the growth of the market.
Well, with that kind of consumer market, why do you think people don't want to go to Europe? What is it that prevents them from doing that?
If the perception, and we go back to your first question, the perception of going to Europe is it's not easy. And there are risks. Most American companies, if you ask them what is their major issue in Europe, why they're not successful in Europe, their answer is we cannot find the right partner. That's one of the major issues. A second issue that they always run into is that how do I arrange my logistics? A third issue that they conceive as important is how do I get my money back? I can export there, but how do I get my money back? Interesting enough is that if you're talking about the top 3 of issues that American companies think are issues in Europe, they're relatively easy to arrange if you know how to do it.
So if those are the ones that companies think are the barriers, what are the real barriers?
The number one reason is language and culture. It's a classic. Yeah. You cannot talk with someone if you don't speak the language, and if you don't understand the culture, you misinterpret signs in the market. Time zone is definitely an issue. It is even more an issue for US companies, because if we look at the companies that are successful in Europe, are most of the time companies that not only sell a product, but they sell added value. They sell service, they sell support, they sell application engineering. The bottom line is, Europe is your largest export market, and American companies, they are totally successful in Europe from World War II and on.
Well, great. Mark, thanks for all the information. I'm sure everybody will find it helpful.
I appreciate that, and if there's anyone that likes to know more about what we have done and how we are doing it, please give us a call. We're more than willing to sit together with you to find out what your objectives are and what your issues are, so we can discuss it and we can share the knowledge that we have with you and talk about what could we do for you to make you more successful in that European market.